Nice. Good evening, everyone. How are we
Good
doing
evening.
today?
Evening.
Hi.
Not so
Good
good, but
Yes.
day.
okay.
Okay. Um, I want to give a welcome to Enrique and Murat.
Thank
Actually,
you.
this is their first book circle. Khaled, Andre, Mariam, and they also belong to the Android group, actually, but from the prior generation. So they are, let's say, frequent
Graduates.
attendants of the book circle. Nice. So, by the way, so for Enrique and Murat, since it's the first one for you guys, just little thing. These sessions are really, really casual, unlike the lecture where it's more like raise your hand and that stuff. Here, you don't have to formally raise your hand in any way. It's more of discussions. But of course, we try to take turns to avoid too much chaos. Good. So let's begin. Who would like to say some thoughts about more mob programming? Actually, I would like to begin a little bit about what's the motivation for reading this book so that you understand the why behind it. I would say there are two. Number one, most likely you're going, or not most likely, when you go to your internship, most likely you will be part of a team that either practices pair programming or mob programming. Yes, it is important for me that you kind of know at least what this is, so that whenever you're introduced to a team like that, you are already familiar into it. And I also want to prepare you a little bit for it so that you know what to expect and so on. In the context of a classroom, hopefully, specifically or especially more for Enrique and Murat since they just started because the other group is almost ending. Hopefully, this motivates you even more to work together in with your classmates in general. So that is a little bit the motivation behind the book. Who would like to say something, any words, starting words about it?
Yeah. After I've been reading the first pages of the book, so it was really
Mhm,
interesting
mhm,
because directly I did understand the mob programming. It can be, as you said, like a tool for us as classmates to start to help each other because mob is like a group
mhm,
working together, and it's always okay. At first I come to think about the internship because when I'm
mm,
going to do the practice, so I have to work with a group, and that group
mm,
that's called mob programming.
exactly,
Yeah,
exactly. But you
yeah.
don't have to even wait to the internship. You can begin even from
We can
now,
start already
as
with
you
that.
said.
Yeah, we can start with yeah
Exactly. And
because I wa because I yeah because I
exactly.
wanted to announce because I wanted to announce after reading the book. I want to to make an announce on the Discord if okay, my colleagues on this program really want us to meet like once a week somewhere in a cafe that we can just sit before any lecture, so we can just switch the
Exactly.
ideas, how we do understand something. So maybe I don't understand by another perspective, so maybe you can just make it easy for me to understand it by your way if it's hard to understand by my way. Ah, something like
Exactly.
that. Just change, yeah,
That's it.
yeah.
That's actually something similar what my current group, Khaled, Mariam, and Andre do. Maybe they don't go to a cafe per se, but they do have meetings by themselves. I have seen that every now and then they do have meetings where they discuss stuff, a homework problem, a project, or whatever it could be. And absolutely, I encourage you to do that. And so, from the old classes, old classmates, how did you find this first chapter? Now that you have been through the course a little bit longer, what did you think about this? Maybe you have already been doing it and you didn't know. Any thoughts on this? Yeah, Mariam, go ahead.
Yeah, I can say that from this first chapter, it was really interesting because it's give us the whole picture of programming because the programming process is not only the coding part, and
Mm,
it's well, I didn't have any experience on being in a group team, so it's
mm,
better to know about how does it feel, how does it work, and it's make us more self-confident to face in the real job on the real job. Yeah.
exactly, exactly. Khaled, you were going to say as well?
Yeah, actually, I didn't receive the paper book yet, but I read a little about it.
Uh,
And I just discovered that all my life working with this expression, mob programming, and I didn't know that it's called like this.
Okay.
So we were doing like something like a group working in a project, and everyone gives suggestion and working together in the term of audio and light. But yeah, it's something similar.
Exactly. I would like to mention like a specific thing about mob programming. Can you? I would like to begin by saying that if you speak to developers out there who are already working and who are familiar with mob programming, you're gonna see two very clear themes. There's people that are totally pro mob programming and they think that okay, that's the only way moving forward. And you also have people that are might be a little bit more reserved. There are strong opinions about those two, but it is true, as they said on the book, the success of a mob programming depends on many factors. Many factors. One is, of course, the people that it's in the mob. Second, it is the way that you kind of organize it a little bit, and also the specific work that you are working on, because there are certain tasks that might not be that good for mob programming, but as they say on the book, for complex tasks, it can really help. Now, I know you already read the book, so probably, of course, you know the answer, but what do you think, thinking from your own experience, working either in the past together or now in the course, what do you see are the benefits of mob programming? That's what I want to highlight. What do you see are the benefits?
I think learning. We learn
like
from
that.
each other.
That's
from
one
each
of the
other,
best,
yeah.
yeah. For
Exactly.
unexperienced programmers, when they're in a mob, they will exponentially grow.
Exactly. That is the first thing that I want to highlight, and I'm really happy that you brought that up. Mob programming, regardless if you're in an educational environment or in a working environment, it is an excellent way of learning, because probably you already did it when you were in high school. Maybe you met with your friends, let's do this math homework together or whatever, and you learned from each other. It was really good way of learning, and I would say that is the best things I personally like about mob programming. I have been involved in a team that did mob programming, and I feel that the learning aspect really helped. But now, let's dig in a little bit into the learning, because there's a lot. When we say learning, it's a very broad term. What do you think are the things that you actually get to learn by doing mob programming? I would like to push a little bit into that point. What do you think are the things that you can actually learn?
I mean, like if you're like a newbie like a total noob, you will learn a lot of methods. You will learn a lot of ways to solve like particular problems, because even if you're saying nothing, just by hearing the other people just talking and just seeing what the guy is actually typing, you can follow it, and then you say, oh, that solution, oh, that solution, oh, that solution. That's like it's like a positive feedback loop that you will get always, like boom, 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 boom.
Exactly. So that is basically, as an example, going back to the educational context, you say, hey, as an example, I didn't know that you could write the pseudocode like this. And then you learn a new way of writing the pseudocode. Oh, hey, I didn't know I could do that with a function. Oh, I learned that. That is correct. Learning, I will call that the aspect of exactly, but technicalities about the language, new ways of writing an algorithm, things like that. But there's a second thing that you actually gain, and that is business knowledge. What do I mean by that? This one is a little bit harder to experience in the education, but when you are in a real application, in a production application, there's a lot of business domain knowledge that it's included in the application, in the way the application was built. So by you being part of, let's say, not only the Android team, but being part of other teams, you're able to further understand the whole aspects of the application, because it is very common that, especially when the apps grow, that you focus on a specific part of the application and you do not focus on the other areas because you never did tasks associated to that. So it is common that there will be parts of the app that you have never worked with. And then they ask, oh, Humberto, how does this part work? Talk to this guy because he worked on that. You see what I mean? So if you have a mob programming scenario, you have the possibilities of learning I don't mean like Kotlin per se, but learning how other parts of the app work because you're together working on a specific task about that. Of course, you're learning Kotlin and so on, but you're more specifically learning how parts of your app are working. And that is another benefit from a business point of view. And this is, if you read the book, there's this aspect of, if you go to page number 7, it says fewer key person dependencies.
Yep.
Let me give you an example. If I am the only one that knows how to use the Android app or how to work the Android app, and tomorrow I get sick or I go on vacation and there's a bug, what's going to happen? You see? So if you have a team of people knowing the app and one person is sick, no problem. Khaled can take over, Mariam can take over, Murad can take over. Why? Because there's no dependency on one person. And from a company perspective, that is very, very valuable. Yeah.
From the management part.
Exactly. There's another, but let's continue talking about the benefits because I do want you to understand that benefits. Learning, that is one. What do you think is another benefit? You can even say it from the book if you
From the book, they say the flow. The flow increases.
What did you understand by the flow? Can you elaborate, or can anyone elaborate?
Because it's like when the app needs something to be like quickly done, like then mob programming can help with that, because then you have like a group of people working on the immediate emergency of the necessity of the app, whatever. Exactly. But they say also you cannot see the benefits on like in a short way. It's more like in a long term, because you need to establish the mob and all the stuff. But yeah, if you have like a super problem, a complex problem, the mob way is like one of the best ways to do it, according to the book.
Well, I would like to say something, but let's dig into the flow efficiency. Who else has something to say about the flow efficiency? How can they? What was the thing that they understood from the flow efficiency? Anyone wants to add something else besides Enrique? No? Okay, let me give you an idea. Let me give you a scenario. Actually, at least the new group, not yet because we recently started, but very soon, as time goes by, you will see it. But the old group will see it or have seen it. Have you noticed that it is true? We have the help sessions, but sometimes, depending on the problem, I might say, hey, just meet me at room number 1, or here's this link, just join me and we'll look into this. Because from a flow efficiency, there are certain times in which going this text way of messaging back and forth just makes trying to solve a problem significantly more difficult, and it takes longer. So imagine if to approve, let me give you an example. All of you are using Git. Mariam, let's say she created a new feature, but that feature is not going to be merged into the master or the main. It's has to go through a review process, as an example. And imagine then she opens the review process, then I have to give her feedback. She then needs to reply back. Then someone else needs to give her feedback. And it's a back and forth process that might sound quick, but can take 1, 2, even 3 days. And if you add the people, the reviewers, they need to be on meetings, a simple feature can take days to be released. I mean, from a flow perspective, from an efficiency perspective, that is very inefficient. Now, the opposite of that is you have Mariam, you have Khaled, you have Humberto in the same room. The everyone that it needs to review, let's say, that thing, as well as the people developing, are in the same room. Right there, right then and there, you develop the application, you review the application together, you release the application together. Not this back and forth of, is this okay? No, fix this stuff, and misunderstandings because of the way you, let's say, requested a change, things like that. You see, so it makes life significantly easier for both parts, the reviewers and more specifically, the author of the code, because it's a more fluent way of working. And that's something else that I really, really appreciate. And I apply that not only in programming. Let me give you an example. As you know, with all these videos, not only the educational content, but the ones outside, I have an editor. Every now and then I tell him, look, we're not going to do mob programming, but we're going to do mob editing. He's the editor, and together we're sitting down and solving a problem, whatever that could be. And it solves the problem significantly quicker because he doesn't have to ask me for questions. I don't have to be approving anything. Everything is right there. And then, like, not back and forth that wastes time. How does that sound? Has anyone been from previous experience in a position like that? Khaled, yes, go ahead, please.
I see that in some tasks, this way of working is productive, but actually, which is like something like UI design or something like you do it, you can do it yourself. Just being in the team for mob programming will be not as productive as supposed to be. That's what I think.
That is correct.
Depends on the task.
Exactly. That is a key point that from experience, I don't remember if they said it in the book, or in this chapter, but from experience, I can tell you not all tasks were designed to be done in a mob. I can tell you one from experience, doing research. What do I mean? Sometimes reading documentation, that's what I mean. Let's say that we need to do a new tool or use a new tool or whatever, or we're having some problems understanding the tool. We just need to read it. It doesn't make sense to have 5 people in front of a TV or a screen reading documentation. Instead, hey, let's close them up. Let's go reading for, I don't know, 1 hour, half an hour to an hour. Let's do what we need to do. Let's come back and let's share what we have learned, for example. And I agree, not every task has been or is designed for mob. Now, I want you to think not only from your programming experience, but in general, in whatever like other job or tasks that you do. Do you see yourself 8 hours per day, 5 days per week, always working in one TV or one screen with other 5 people? And I want you to be honest. Do you see yourself always in that moment?
Depending on the group and the chemistry of the group.
Okay,
and I
so
think
you said
five people will be too much, but I know that it needs to be like even number, because
it doesn't have to be even necessarily.
No, but the thing is, on the book they say one of the advantages with mob and big versus pair is that the pair can get like a team thingy, like you versus me. So I think this is not on the book. I think if you make like a even number, that it can change, that people can group together, and then it will be a one team versus another team, and it will be basically a pair programming situation.
I will let you know something about that in a second. But okay, let's hear a little bit more. Mariam, and then Khaled, and then Andre.
Yes, I'm not able to do that for full time because I need some time to think about the stuff myself.
Okay.
And then can give my advice.
I like what you said. We will explore that in a second. Khaled?
Me too. I feel it's tough to spend like 8 hours with a team, so 50% could be better.
50%. Okay, Andre, what about you? And then Murad?
I think this depends the situation. Depends if we need to create the new activity. Yes, it's better 1 person or 2 maximum. But if we need to fix something problem, the special activity, I think the much people is better because they have different opinions, and they can 5 people, he can fix the problem more quickly than 1 or 2. So depends on the situation.
Depends on the Murad?
I think it depends on the project we are working on it. So if something that's it needed our presence, that we have to be working together at the same time, at the same thing. So I can see myself that maybe I can be there. But sometimes the good things with working as a programmer and working with a team, the flexibility. Maybe sometimes you can just like work on some task by yourself. Can give you some free time and not be present all the time with the group at the same time.
Exactly. And I would say that's the key. I'm going to speak for personal experience. Unfortunately, I cannot work 8 hours a day, 5 days a week on a mob. And the main reason is because I do need some time for my thoughts. Unfortunately, and depends on the task, of course, but I cannot on the spot with 5 people, a lot of things going on, reflect on what I want to do or how would I approach it. Sometimes I need a little bit of exploration, experimentation on myself, try different approaches on myself, because everyone has different ways of working. And sometimes you just want to, hey, let me test this stuff by myself, and I need to do what I need to do. So I do believe that a good balance is having the opportunity, and that's what they say here, having the opportunity to have that flexibility in which some tasks have been designed for the mob, or you say this is mob worthy stuff, and some tasks that might be a little bit either trivial or a little bit that they don't require that much complexity, or that stuff like that can be done individual. And I believe the most important part is that teams should have the opportunity to decide. It should be an optional thing. Like, you should not be forced to be part of the team, because I don't know you, but as soon as you're forced into something, and if that's something you do not like, as an example, then problems begin to arise. So I do believe in general that teams should have that option to go in and go out whenever they want, and whenever they do go out, there should be still stuff or tasks that can be done by yourself, for example.
Yep.
Exactly. But good. Let's see. Good. There's something that it's not related to mob per se, but I really like, and I want everyone of you to know this, because remember, finding a job, having a successful IT career, or so on, is not only about being a good programmer. There's many things involved, and I really like, if you go to page number 6, the second and third paragraph. I'm gonna read really quickly. The trouble is, technical people often do the mistake of pushing an idea because it's a solution of a technical problem. What do I mean by that? In a company, you have the technical team, you have the, let's say, management team. And what he is saying here is that sometimes the technical team wants to promote an idea, but they only speak about what are the technical benefits that bring. The management team, because they might not fully understand those technicalities, might say, look, this is not worth it. The point I'm trying to make is this: always in communication, and it doesn't matter the context of life you find yourself, you need to adapt the message to whoever you're sending that message. When you speak to a developer, you speak in a specific way, your vocabulary, the ideas, and so on, because the other person is a developer. But whenever you need to speak to someone that is not a developer, yes, you have to send the same message, but you need to adapt it so that the other person can understand it from his or her perspective. And that's what this thing is saying. It says, if you want to have a conversation with your manager about why you should start mob programming, you should first need to think about the rest of the organization, how from the management perspective, this brings a benefit. So the point is, whenever you transmit your message, whatever that is, always remember of who you're sending this message and adapt it for that perspective of the receiver. Okay. Exactly. When I meet, let's say, for your internships as an example, when I have to go out there with Morten and talk to these people about trying to find internships, the first thing I like to find out is the people on the other end of the table, are they developers or are they not developers? Because if they are developers, I can start throwing Android or Python words left and right. But if they're not developers and I do that, it will be a catastrophe. I mean, it will not go anywhere. So you always have to remember that, okay? That's something I want you to keep in mind. It's not only about mob, it's in general, anything you do in life.
In life.
Exactly. But good. So I, again, at this point, reading the book, we have no idea how to start mobbing. Okay, maybe you started reading future chapters, but assuming you didn't, we still don't know how to mob, and we still don't know what are the rules when mobbing and things like that. But hopefully now you see that there is benefit. There is benefit on doing this. There is benefit in working together. You already described it. And for me, the most important, learning. That is a good way of learning. And Murad said it. Hey, sometimes Humberto might explain something that maybe was not that easy, but when Enrique explained it to me, it was easier to understand. You see what I mean? That is what I want every single one of you to really, really get out of this. The benefits of working together, either in pairs or in a group. And Murad, I do encourage you to do what you said. I always do that, especially in the beginning. I send messages to people to encouraging people, but at the end, I cannot force people to work together. You see, I do not force people. But when I have noticed, when it comes from the students, they kind of react a little bit better.
Yeah.
You see what I mean? If Enrique were to say, "Hey, Murad, let's go, let's work together," blah blah blah, usually that gives more result than if I just say, "Work together." For some reason, people don't work together when I say it. It's when the students communicate. It has to come a little bit more organic, and so on. We have 5 minutes left. Any final thoughts? What do you what are your thoughts about in general the conversation or anything else that you would like to add regarding MOB? Yeah, Enrique.
On the book, they mentioned something called the Cinefin framework.
What page?
I forgot which page, but it's like it's when you assess when to use the MOB versus when not to use the MOB. That's when they
Okay.
mention that the MOB works for complex and or complicated problems.
Uh-huh.
Not for, and then they mention something called the Cinefin framework. It's actually really interesting. They basically fragment 5 possibilities of a problem. It can be chaotic, complex, complicated, or simple. And it starts from disorder. So basically,
is that in this chapter? Because I don't remember.
Yeah, it is. It's referenced on the chapter.
Okay. I don't recall reading that.
It's a really interesting way to organize ideas. So they say MOB works for complex problems.
Yeah, definitely, because you have the opportunity to exchange ideas,
Yeah.
Test your own ideas,
yeah.
Find, let's say, the holes in the logic and try to come up with a better product than if it's only you thinking. And I agree. I do like to work with people, and I do have certain people that I work closely to discuss ideas, to discuss, hey, what do you think about this approach for doing this? And then I find, hey, I didn't think about those things. That is what I really, really appreciate of working with other people, that you get to see things that otherwise you might have not been able to identify by yourself.
Exactly. I want to say that after learning, the discussion part is really, really important, because if only one person do something, and if is it junior, for example, it's not good. It's better to have more opinion on one project.
Exactly. And that is also the reason for this book circle, because reading is nice, but what's nicer is being able to exchange ideas. Exactly, and hear what other people think about it. I personally remember books or discussions, or remember the context of the book more when I discuss them with other people, and I reflect on it even more than if I did it by myself. So yeah, that's part of the reason for this, so that you can reflect on those. Andre, go ahead, please.
Yes, I can tell something funny situation I have with Khaled yesterday. When the important is talk about the homework and share, because if I talk with Khaled 2 days ago, I don't spend 2 days to fix the one problem API, and Khaled showed me what is important. Read the documentation, the API, because I found another way. But I mean, it's very important when you have homework project, share the ideas and with another college, and you find the solutions.
Exactly. And exactly. So instead of spending 2 days or 2 hours in figuring out yourself, you discussed it with Khaled, and it helped or accelerated the process, if you will. And for me, that's perfect. I mean, the whole purpose of the education is to prepare you to the industry, and having this mindset of you can only work by yourself. I mean, that's not really, I'm taking away learning opportunities from the students. Go ahead, Khaled.
Yeah, I agree with Andre. It was maybe it's a shortcut to discuss and share ideas, but at the same time, through his journey, 2 days searching, he learned a lot. Actually, he showed me some code, some ways of somehow.
Exactly, different ways of
Yeah.
learning. So yeah, again, hopefully then for the new members, this is a motivation to, hey, let's start working together even more. And yeah, but nice. It is 12. You know, I like to respect the time to make it sharp 30 minutes. So really nice discussion. Thank you everyone for joining. Hopefully, Enrique and Murat, this is your first one, so hopefully you liked the dynamics, and we will see you on the coming ones as well.
Next one. Thank you.
Thanks a
Absolutely.
lot.
Thank you.
Have a nice
Thank
day.
you.
Hello, everyone.
Have a nice day.
Hello.
Ha det så
Have a
gott.
good one.
Yeah.
Bye. Hej då.
Hej då.